48 teams walked into this World Cup. Today, only 32 remain. And if you look closely at the continental breakdown of who actually survived, you start to understand the real story of this group stage. 13 European teams advanced. 9 African nations made it through, the highest number in World Cup history. 5 South American sides survived. 3 North American teams, all 3 hosts, punched their ticket. And from Asia, only 2 teams remain standing. That number from Africa deserves a moment on its own. 9 teams, South Africa qualifying for the knockout stage for the very first time in their history. Ivory Coast advancing alongside Germany from Group E. Morocco finishing second behind Brazil. Egypt grinding through one of the most chaotic final group nights of the entire tournament. Algeria surviving a 6-goal thriller against Austria. Ghana, Senegal, and DR Congo rounding out a continental showing that nobody predicted before a single ball was kicked. Let's get into the full round of 32 picture, group by group, before we talk about who's flying under the radar heading into the knockout stage. Group A gave us co-host Mexico topping the table with a perfect record, dropping South Africa into second after Bafana Bafana's stunning late win over South Korea. Group B saw Switzerland finish first ahead of Canada, who advanced as runners-up in their historic World Cup debut as hosts. Group C belonged to Brazil, who beat Scotland 3-0 in their finale, with Vinicius scoring twice, while Morocco grabbed second spot to keep their golden generation alive. Group D was dominated early by the United States, who wrapped up first place before their final match even kicked off, with Australia advancing in second after a goalless draw with Paraguay. Group E turned into one of the wildest stories of the entire group stage. Germany had already clinched top spot, but then suffered a shock 2-1 defeat to Ecuador in their final match. It didn't matter for their position, but it mattered enormously for Ecuador, who snuck through as one of the 8 best third-place teams. Ivory Coast took second. Group F saw the Netherlands cruise past Tunisia to win the group, with Japan securing second on a draw against Sweden, who themselves advanced as a third-place team. And then there's Group G, the single craziest night of the entire group stage. The top 2 spots switched 7 times across the evening, 3 times in the final 10 minutes alone. Belgium's 5-1 demolition of New Zealand secured first place, while Egypt held on with a 1-1 draw against Iran, surviving only after a late VAR offside call denied Team Melli the second spot. Iran, who had fought through one of the most difficult travel schedules of any squad in this tournament, were eliminated on goal differential in the cruelest possible fashion. Group H went to England, who beat Croatia 4-2 in their opener and topped the group, with Croatia coming through in second after edging Ghana late. Group I saw France finish first courtesy of a Kylian Mbappe masterclass, with Norway advancing in second behind a dominant performance against Iraq. Senegal's third-place finish was strong enough to push them through as well. Group J belonged to Lionel Messi and Argentina, who topped the table with Austria taking second after a thrilling 3-3 draw with Algeria, a result that sent both Austria and Algeria through. Group K saw Colombia and Portugal finish level on points after a scoreless draw between them, with DR Congo completing a stunning comeback to qualify as a third-place team. And Group L wrapped with Spain winning their group, sending Austria's group rival Uruguay home empty-handed, while Cape Verde stunned everyone by becoming the smallest nation in history to reach a World Cup knockout stage. So here's the full 32. Mexico, South Africa, Switzerland, Canada, Brazil, Morocco, the United States, Australia, Germany, Ivory Coast, Ecuador, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Belgium, Egypt, England, Croatia, France, Norway, Senegal, Argentina, Austria, Algeria, Colombia, Portugal, DR Congo, Spain, Cape Verde, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Paraguay, and Ghana. Now, with all of that laid out, let's talk about the teams nobody is giving a real chance, but who could absolutely wreck the bracket.
Number 1. Morocco. They've already proven in this group stage that they're not intimidated by anyone, holding Brazil to a draw and grinding through a difficult group with composure. This is the same generational core that reached a World Cup semifinal not long ago, and they now face the Netherlands in the round of 32, a side that's talented but has shown defensive cracks all tournament. Let's dig into why this matchup is so dangerous for the Dutch. Morocco's group stage wasn't loud, but it was disciplined in exactly the way that wins knockout football. A 1-1 draw against Brazil to open, a tight 1-0 win over Scotland, and a 4-2 finish against Haiti that showed they can punish space when teams lose their defensive shape. Ismail Saibari has quietly been their standout performer, with 3 goals through the group phase, giving Morocco a midfield runner who can both win the ball and finish chances, which is exactly the profile that breaks open tight knockout matches. The headline name, though, is still Achraf Hakimi. Morocco's captain has been one of the best fullbacks on the planet for several seasons now, and he plays the position like a winger who happens to track back. He pushes forward constantly from right back, drags opposing wingers and fullbacks out of position, and creates the kind of overloads that turn a stalemate into a chance in a single pass. Against the Netherlands specifically, that matchup down the channel matters enormously. Nathan Ake at left back has the recovery speed to deal with most attackers in this tournament, but if the Dutch wingers tuck infield to help build possession, as they've done at times this tournament, that flank opens right up for Hakimi to exploit. Then there's Brahim Diaz, the Real Madrid playmaker who chose Morocco over the country of his birth and has quickly become the most dangerous creative force this team has had since the 2022 run. He's quick, he's clever, and he has the rare ability to manufacture something out of nothing in tight spaces, exactly the kind of difference maker who turns a cagey round of 32 tie into a moment of magic. What makes Morocco genuinely frightening as a dark horse, though, isn't just individual quality, it's the system underneath it. 9 players from the 2022 semifinal run are back in this squad, including Yassine Bounou in goal, Hakimi and Sofiane Amrabat anchoring the midfield. That's institutional memory most teams in this bracket simply don't have. They know what it feels like to go deep in a World Cup. They know how to grind out results when games get tight, and they know how to frustrate bigger, more talented opponents into mistakes. Their defensive identity, the deep block, the compact shape, the willingness to sit in and counter, was the exact formula that knocked out Spain and Portugal 4 years ago. The Netherlands have scored 10 goals and conceded 4 through the group stage, but several of those defensive lapses came against teams with nowhere near Morocco's discipline or knockout pedigree. If Morocco can stay compact for 90 minutes and get even one moment of quality from Hakimi or Diaz, this tie is very winnable. Number 2. Cape Verde. The smallest nation ever to reach this stage of a World Cup, and they're not playing like overwhelmed debutantes. 3 draws in 3 group matches shows a team with structure, discipline, and zero fear. They face Argentina next, and while nobody expects them to win, this team has already rewritten what's possible for a nation their size. Let's put their achievement in real perspective. Cape Verde is an archipelago of roughly 500,000 people, making them the 3rd smallest nation by population to ever play at a World Cup. They needed 7 previous failed qualification attempts before finally breaking through, and they did it the hard way, finishing 4 points clear of a Cameroon side that's traditionally been one of African football's heavyweights. And then they walked into a group stage with Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia, a group that most pundits assumed would be a brutal welcome to the big stage lesson, and instead delivered 3 results that nobody saw coming. They opened by holding Spain, the reigning European champions, to a scoreless draw in their very first World Cup match in history. Spain dominated possession for long stretches, but Cape Verde's deep, compact defensive shape simply refused to break. Then came a 2-2 draw with Uruguay, where for the first time in the tournament they actually got on the score sheet twice against a team with multiple World Cup titles in its history. And to close the group, another scoreless draw, this time against Saudi Arabia, a result that confirmed 2nd place in Group H and sent them through to the knockout stage in their maiden appearance.
3 draws, 0 defeats. That's the story of Cape Verde's group stage, and it tells you everything about the identity coach Pedro Brito, known affectionately as Bubista, has built.
He's a former national team captain himself, a central defender by trade, and his approach leans entirely into defensive solidity. The team sits in a compact 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, defends deep, and waits patiently for transition opportunities rather than trying to dominate the ball against superior opponents. It's not the prettiest football, but it's been remarkably difficult to break down. Their captain, 36-year-old Ryan Mendez, is the heartbeat of this team, the country's all-time leading scorer and most capped player, and likely playing in the last major tournament of his career. Around him, younger talents like Daylon Livramento have provided exactly enough attacking spark to make teams respect them, while a deep well of European-based diaspora players gives this squad a technical foundation that belies their tiny population. Facing Argentina and Lionel Messi in the round of 32 is about as difficult a knockout draw as exists in this entire bracket. But a team that is drawn with Spain and Uruguay back-to-back has already proven it doesn't panic against bigger reputations. Nobody expects Cape Verde to beat the world champions, but this is a team that has made not losing into an art form, and in a single knockout match, that stubbornness alone can be enough to drag a heavyweight into uncomfortable territory. Number 3. South Africa. First ever knockout stage appearance, sealed with a dramatic late winner against South Korea. Hugo Broos has built a side that defends with real organization and punishes mistakes. They face Canada in a matchup between two nations writing new chapters in their World Cup history. This story carries enormous emotional weight on its own. South Africa hosted the World Cup back in 2010 and suffered the unique embarrassment of becoming the first host nation in tournament history to be eliminated at the group stage. They didn't qualify again in 2014 or 2018 or 2022. 16 years of waiting led to this return, and it almost didn't happen at all. During qualifying, South Africa were actually handed an automatic 3-0 forfeit loss to Lesotho after a FIFA eligibility ruling found that midfielder Teboho Mokoena had been ineligible for an earlier match. That ruling very nearly cost them their place in this entire tournament. Instead, Bafana Bafana regrouped, beat the Benin away, beat Lesotho away, held Nigeria to a draw, and then sealed qualification with a 3-0 win over Rwanda that confirmed their return to the World Cup for the first time in 16 years. Their group stage performance was built on exactly the qualities you'd expect from a 74-year-old Belgian coach in the final job of his career. Hugo Broos, who reached the semifinals of the 1986 World Cup as a player and later led Cameroon to an Africa Cup of Nations title, has installed a pragmatic, defensively disciplined system that prioritizes structure over spectacle. South Africa sit deep, stay compact, and wait for the moment to strike on the counter. That patience paid off in the most dramatic possible fashion against South Korea when substitute Tapelo Maseko struck in the 63rd minute to lift Bafana Bafana from 4th place in the group all the way into the knockout stage, an astonishing swing achieved in the final minutes of the entire group phase. Captain Ronwen Williams anchors this team from goal, an experienced shot stopper who became a national icon after his penalty-saving heroics in a previous Africa Cup of Nations shootout against Morocco. In front of him, Teboho Mokoena, the same player whose eligibility controversy nearly derailed the qualifying campaign, has become the engine of the midfield, winning the ball back in tight spaces and dictating the tempo that allows South Africa to play their patient, structured style. Lyle Foster leads the attack as the lone out-and-out striker, a player who doesn't need a high volume of chances to find the net. Against Canada, a host nation playing with the energy and crowd support of their own World Cup debut as a co-host, South Africa will likely look to do exactly what got them here: stay organized, frustrate, and wait for one moment of opportunism to make history again. Number 4. Ecuador. They needed a win over Germany to even have a chance, and they got it, 2-1 in the dying stages of the group phase. A team built on pace and directness that just beat one of the tournament favorites when it mattered most.
To understand how significant that win actually was, you need to understand just how dominant Germany had looked before that match. Julian Nagelsmann's side had already clinched top spot in Group E, hammered Curaçao 7-1 in their opener, and looked like one of the most fluid attacking units in the entire tournament heading into that final group game.
Ecuador, by contrast, arrived at that fixture with a single point from 2 matches, having lost narrowly to Ivory Coast and then been held scoreless by Curaçao despite firing off 27 shots in that match alone. They needed a win, combined with results elsewhere going their way, just to have a path into the knockout stage. They got both. What makes Ecuador's profile as a dark horse so compelling isn't really that one result, though. It's the defensive foundation underneath everything they do. Coach Sebastián Beccacece, an Argentine tactician who never played the game professionally at a high level but built his coaching reputation as a meticulous assistant under Jorge Sampaoli, has constructed arguably the most disciplined defensive unit in this entire World Cup. During South American qualifying, Ecuador conceded just 5 goals across 18 matches, the best defensive record in the entire CONMEBOL region, built around a backline anchored by Chelsea's Moises Caicedo in midfield, with Arsenal's Piero Hincapié and Paris Saint-Germain's Willian Pacho, forming one of the most physically dominant center-back pairings in the competition. Caicedo is the player who makes this entire structure function. He ranks among the very best defensive midfielders in Europe for interceptions and ball recoveries, and his ability to win possession back instantly and launch quick transitions gives Ecuador a way to hurt teams even when they're not dominating the ball. 19-year-old Kendry Páez offers a contrasting spark for midfield, a fearless young talent capable of running directly at defenders and threading passes between lines once Caicedo has stabilized the game. Up front, 36-year-old captain Enner Valencia remains the focal point and the country's all-time leading scorer, while Gonzalo Plata provides the pace and one-on-one ability to turn half chances into real ones. This is a team that has now proven twice in this World Cup cycle that they don't fear reputation, having beaten Argentina at home during qualifying and now Germany on the biggest stage of all. Whoever draws Ecuador in the knockout rounds is facing a side that will sit in a disciplined shape, deny space through the middle, and wait patiently for exactly one moment to turn defensive solidity into a back-breaking result. Number 5. DR Congo. A third-place finish that came via a stunning comeback against Uzbekistan, and now a knockout debut against England. Nobody is talking about this team, and that's exactly the kind of situation where a tournament gets turned upside down. The Leopards' return to this stage carries its own remarkable backstory. This is a nation that hasn't appeared at a men's World Cup in 52 years, and their path through the group stage was anything but smooth. They needed a dramatic comeback win over Uzbekistan, debutants themselves, just to lock up a place among the 8 best third-place teams across the entire tournament. That kind of resilience, coming from behind under pressure in a must-win scenario, tells you something important about the character of this squad heading into the knockout rounds. What DR Congo brings into this round of 32 tie against England is precisely the element that makes them dangerous as a complete unknown. England arrive into the knockout stage having already secured top spot in their group, with the pedigree, depth, and tournament experience that come with being one of the favorites to go deep in this competition. But unknown opponents who arrive in the knockout stage on the back of a dramatic, high-pressure comeback often carry a different kind of belief than teams who cruised through comfortably. There's a psychological freedom that comes with being the team nobody expected to be here. No fear of letting anyone down, nothing to protect, only a chance to shock the football world on the biggest stage that exists. This is exactly the profile of team that has authored some of the greatest shocks in World Cup history. The side with genuinely nothing to lose, stepping into a match against a heavyweight that's used to controlling games, but has rarely faced the kind of direct, fearless approach a team like this can bring. If DR Congo's defense holds its nerve in the opening exchanges, and they manage to draw England into a tighter, more cautious game than the English want to play, this is precisely the kind of round of 32 tie capable of producing the single biggest shock of the entire knockout stage. Now it's your turn. The group stage is done, and we want to hear from you. Who was your favorite player through these first 2 weeks? Which national team won you over completely? Which player disappointed you the most relative to the hype around him? Which national team underperformed given the talent on paper? What was the single best goal of the entire group stage? And finally, who's your pick to lift the trophy on July 19th?